Learning objectives include examples of various antibiotics and their mode of action. There are antibiotics that inhibit cell wall synthesis, and examples include penicillin, cephalosporin. Cefoxiam is the fourth generation. Just remember that there are various generations of antibiotics made over the time. What happens is basically when you use continuously the same antibacterial for over time, microorganisms, they develop resistance. And then the pharmacist or scientist, they come up with another generation of antibiotics. And that is how we end up with second generation, third generation, and fourth generation. So cefoxiam is the fourth generation of antibiotics. Then bacitracin is used topically. It also inhibits cell wall. And vancomycin is another antimicrobial used for cell wall inhibition, cell wall synthesis inhibition. Vancomycin is very special because those organisms that are resistant to penicillin, in those situations, this is the only choice, vancomycin. So use of vancomycin is at the last resort. Then nothing else works, then the doctor should prescribe vancomycin. There are antibiotics used against mycobacterium, tuberculosis, for example. These are called antimycobacterials. Isoniazids, these are drug group. And then ethambutol, a drug that is used against mycobacterium. And they target cell wall. Examples of protein synthesis, example of antibiotics include chloramphenicol, a potentially cytotoxic. So if you use it continuously for over a longer time, it can cause bone marrow inhibition. So bone marrow suppression. So chloramphenicol is also not a very good choice. Only used when there's no other drug that are working against the organism. Aminoglycosides, examples include streptomycin, neomycin, gentamicin, and there is another protein synthesis inhibitor, tetracycline. Very commonly used, tetracyclines. Tetracycline, not only can they be used against microbes, like U bacteria, they can be used, or their use could be extended against rickettsias and chlamydias. They're not very typical organisms, typical microbes or bacteria. They're also used as animal feed additives, tetracyclines, for promoting growth in animals. Then another group that targets protein is macrolides, and examples include erythromycin, which was basically the original antibiotic, but then scientists modified. And azithromycin is a semi-synthetic. So S-syn basically is a semi-synthetic. Another antibacterial, polymyxin B, used for topical applications against gram-negative bacteria, targets plasma membrane. Nucleic acid synthesis is stopped by rifampin. It inhibits synthesis of messenger RNA and treated for tuberculosis. But again, these DNA inhibiting antimicrobials have a limited use. They could be toxic to the body. Another group that targets nucleic acid synthesis is quinolones and fluoroquinolones. And they include nalidixic acid, norfloxacin, ciprofloxacin, and they use preferentially or preferably for urinary tract infection. Other groups of antibacterial that targets essential metabolites include sulfonamides, and a common combination is the trimethoprim and sulfamethoxazole. In summary, there are various antibiotics. They target various structures of prokaryotes.